If you enjoy this story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, because behind every card in the deck lies a forgotten legend, waiting to be told. What looks like a simple piece of paper hides blood, betrayal, passion, and destiny. And today, let us turn back time to an age of kings and knights to witness the tragedy bound to the Jack of Clubs. Look closely at the Jack of Clubs, and like the steady gaze of the king, or the serene authority of the queen, the Jack's eyes drift slightly to the side, as if avoiding the truth, as if hiding something too heavy to bear. But Jack, with his youthful face and his restless glance, is none other than Sir Lancelot du Lac, the brightest champion of King Arthur, the undefeated sword of the Round Table, and yet the man whose secret love for Queen Guinevere set Camelot upon its path to ruin. It begins, as so many tales of joy and sorrow do, on a spring morning. The air was sweet with the scent of blossoming flowers, the fields alive with color, the river shimmering beneath the May sun. May Day was a day of merriment, when lords and ladies shed their duties and knights put down their armor, joining the common folk to celebrate the renewal of life. And so Queen Guinevere, radiant as the season itself, declared she would ride into the meadows with 10 of Arthur's noble knights and 10 handmaidens, to dance among the green woods of Westminster. Her escort wore no heavy armor that day. To honor tradition, they dressed in green tunics, carrying only light swords for show. They laughed and sang as they rode, unaware that fate was tightening its grip upon them. For in the shadows of the nearby forest, a predator was waiting. Sir Meleagrance, son of King Bagdemagus of Gore, had long coveted the queen, a knight himself, but twisted by jealousy and desire. He had watched Guinevere from afar, too fearful to act, while Lancelot, her ever-watchful champion, remained by her side. But this day, what reached him? Guinevere had left without Lancelot, guarded only by lightly armed knights. Meleagrance's heart surged with dark resolve. He summoned 20 mounted warriors and hundreds of archers. Sealing the forest pots, it happened suddenly, as the queen's party entered the greenwood. Arrows whistled from the trees, and the road ahead was blocked by armed riders. Meleagrance, bold with his advantage, rode forward. "Yield the queen to me," he demanded, "or every man here shall die where he stands." The knights of the Round Table glanced at each other. They had no shields, no lances, but their honor burned hotter than any fire, drawing their blades. They formed a circle round Guinevere, steel singing as it cleared the scabbards. "If you would take her," one knight shouted, "you must ride over our corpses." Battle erupted. Swords clashed against iron. Cries echoed in the trees, though outnumbered, though unarmored. The queen's protectors fought like lions, each willing to shed his blood for her, one by one. They were struck down, wounded and bleeding, yet still they held the circle. Guinevere's heart twisted at the sight of her defenders broken upon the grass. She knew if this continued, all would perish. Raising her voice above the din, she called to Meleagrance, "Spare them. I will go with you freely, if only you grant them mercy and let them remain with me." Meleagrance's cruel smile spread. "Agreed, but swear that none shall send word to Lancelot." Reluctantly, Guinevere consented, yet as the queen was led toward Meleagrance's castle, she whispered to the youngest of her pages, sending him racing like the wind to find the one man who could save her. Far away, Lancelot heard the pounding of hooves long before the boy collapsed before him, breathless, delivering the desperate news. At once, Lancelot's blood turned to fire. He seized his armor, mounted his horse, and thundered toward Westminster. The forests blurred round him. The only image in his mind was Guinevere in chains, but the enemy lay in wait. Archers sprang from the trees, arrows flying. One struck his steed. The faithful horse shrieked and fell beneath him. Lancelot tumbled, but rose unbroken, sword and shield in hand. No rain of arrows, no ambush of men could hold him. He pressed forward on foot, determined to tear down Meleagrance's walls with his bare hands, if need be. Then, fortune turned strangely. On a narrow road, he found a cart drawn by two peasants hauling wood toward the castle. Desperate, Lancelot begged them for passage. They refused. With no time for a courtesy, the knight struck one down and forced the other to drive him straight toward the enemy's gates. Thus the greatest knight of the age entered infamy riding not a noble charger, but a lowly cart. For this, men would mock him as the knight of the cart. Yet within that shame burned a nobler fire, love and loyalty. At last, the cart rattled to a halt before Meleagrance's castle. Lancelot leapt down, steel flashing in his grip, voice thundering across the stones. Meleagrance, traitor, come forth. I, Lancelot du Lac, challenge you. Face me, and face your death. The shout shook the battlements. Guards scattered, and in the queen's chamber, Guinevere heard the roar of her champion and felt her heart leap. Meleagrance, for all his bravado, pale with fear, he rushed to Guinevere, fell to his knees. Mercy, my lady, do not let him slay me. I have done this only because I love you. Guinevere, with icy disdain, spat her reply. You speak of love while chaining me like a prisoner. You know nothing of love, sir. Yet when Lancelot strode into her presence, burning with rage, Guinevere placed a hand upon his arm. Spare him. Lancelot, she whispered, not for his sake, but for mine, and so the traitor lived for the moment. That night, in the stillness of the castle, another fate unfolded. The wounded knight slept. The corridors lay silent. In her chamber, Guinevere sat alone, her thoughts stalking. The image of Lancelot bloody and yielding. Leaping from the cart to challenge her captor burned in her heart. She longed for him, feared for him, and yet could not resist. And Lancelot wandered the halls, restless. He had saved her, yet her presence was a torment sweeter than any victory. He could no longer deny the truth that had haunted him for years. His love for Guinevere was no fleeting passion, but the core of his very soul. At last, desire conquered reason. He came to her window, scaling the stone wall as he had scaled countless battlements. With his hands of iron he tore apart the window's bars, cutting himself upon the steel. Blood trickled down, staining the sill, falling upon the white linens within. But pain was nothing to him. Guinevere was waiting. When he entered, she rose, eyes wide, hands trembling not in fear, but in longing. They met in silence, then in an embrace that words could not contain. In that chamber, beneath the moonlight, the greatest knight of the age and the Queen of Britain surrendered to a love forbidden by law, by faith, by honor. One night only, but enough to seal their doom. Morning broke over Meleagrance's castle. The wounded knights stirred. The handmaidens prepared their queen's chamber. Sunlight slipped through the torn window, casting its pale glow upon the white sheets, and there, upon the linen, was the stain dark red. Unmistakable, Meleagrance, ever watchful, came to pay his respects, or rather, to seek an opportunity, pulling back the curtain of Guinevere's bed. His eyes fell upon the crimson mark, his lips twisted into a triumphant sneer. Blood, he hissed, "My lady, you have not lain alone. You have betrayed your king, your honor, your people. One of your wounded knights has shared your bed." Guinevere's eyes flashed with fury. "Lies, how dare you accuse me of such treachery?" But the evidence was plain, and Meleagrance knew it. He cared not for truth, only for power. He spread the accusation among his men. The Queen of Britain had dishonored herself. Soon the whispers echoed through the castle like the hiss of snakes. When word reached Lancelot, his heart pounded with dread. He knew whose blood stained those sheets, yet he would not allow her honor to be blackened. Storming into the hall, he stood tall before Meleagrus. "Withdraw your words, come, or face me here and now." Meleagrus, sly and smirking, raised his hand. "No, Sir Knight, let us leave the matter for trial before King Arthur himself. Before the eyes of all Camelot, you shall fight me there, and the truth will be revealed. If you win, the Queen is innocent. If you fall, she is guilty, and she shall burn." Lancelot's grip tightened upon his sword, but he forced himself to nod. "So be it. 8 days hence, at Westminster. I swear by my life, I will be there." The days passed. Guinevere was returned to Arthur's court, under a cloud of shame and fear. The king, though sorrowful, could not ignore the law. If she were found guilty of adultery, she must burn. Yet in his heart he clung to faith in her. "I know my queen is innocent," Arthur said softly, "and I know Lancelot will come." But Meleagrus had no intention of facing him fairly. Before the appointed day, he invited Lancelot into his castle once more, speaking with honeyed tongue. "Come, noble knight, let me show you my halls. You must know I hold no ill will." Lancelot, bound by the chivalry that demanded trust in a host, agreed. Through chamber after chamber Meleagrus led him, until they came to a narrow room with a trap hidden beneath the floor. When Lancelot stepped within, the ground gave way. He plummeted into darkness. A heavy grate slammed shut above him. The traitor laughed. "Now, Knight of the Round Table, rot where you belong. Without you, the Queen will perish, and all Camelot will know her shame." The dungeon was cold and stinking, a pit of stone with no escape. Days and nights blurred together. No sound but dripping water. No light but a thin beam from above. Lancelot's wound sicked. But worse was the torment in his heart. Guinevere, alone, condemned, awaiting the fire. Yet not all was lost. Each day, a maiden came, bringing bread and water. She was fair and soft-spoken, her eyes lingering on the knight with strange longing. At first she begged him to accept her affections. He refused, turning his face away. But on the 6th day, she leaned close and whispered, "Sir Lancelot, you cannot escape. You will die here. And the queen you love will burn. But I can free you. I will bring you armor, weapons, and a horse. I will unlock this dungeon. All I ask, just one kiss." Only that, for the first time in his life, Lancelot wavered. He was a knight of honor. To barter affection was unworthy. Yet in his mind's eye he saw Guinevere upon the pyre, flames licking at her gown, her cries filling the air. Could he let her perish for the sake of pride? Slowly, he lifted his head. "If it is only a kiss you seek," he said gravely, "then I shall grant it." The maiden smiled. Their lips touched. It was brief, no more than the brush of a vow. But it was enough. True to her word, she brought armor and arms, his shield emblazoned with his crest, and led him to the stables. There she showed him a horse, strong and black as midnight. "Ride," she whispered. "Save her." And Lancelot, with a cry of thanks, mounted and spurred into the night. Meanwhile, at Westminster, the day of judgment dawned. The city thronged with people, eager and fearful. At the center of the square stood the stake, piled with wood, awaiting its victim, Queen Guinevere. pale yet proud, was led forth. Her eyes searched the crowd, seeking one face. On a platform, King Arthur sat in sorrow. His knights gathered grimly round him. Beside him, Sir Lavaine clenched his fists. If Lancelot does not come, let me fight in his stead. Arthur nodded. Heavy-hearted, so be it. But may God send us better fortune. Then Meleagrance rode forth, clad in gleaming armor, his horse prancing proudly. He saluted the king with mocking courtesy. My liege, where is the champion of your queen? He has abandoned her, it seems. Shall I face this boy instead? The crowd murmured, some pitying, some condemning. Guinevere closed her eyes, whispering a prayer, and then hooves thundered. From the distant road came a figure, armored in silver, riding with the speed of a storm. Sunlight blazed upon his helm. His shield bore the mark of the lake. The people gasped. Guinevere's eyes flew open, and tears glistened. Lancelot had come. The field at Westminster roared with life. Trumpets blared. Crowds pressed against the wooden rails. Nobles and peasants alike straining for a glimpse of the combat that would decide a queen's fate. Upon the dais sat King Arthur, his face grave, the weight of crown and law heavy upon his brow. At the stake, Guinevere stood robed in white, her hands bound, her gaze locked upon the silver figure galloping closer with each heartbeat. Lancelot burst into the arena like a thunderbolt. His horse reared, his lance shone like lightning. The cheers of the people rose, mingled with gasps of awe. Arthur himself rose from his seat, relief flooding his eyes. By God, he whispered, he has come. Meleagrance's pride faltered. He had believed the pit would hold his enemy until doom. Now terror clawed at him. Still, he could not retreat. Undemanded he faced what he had summoned. He raised his shield, lowered his lance, and urged his steed forward. The two knights faced one another across the field. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then the marshal gave the signal, and with a cry both spurred their mounts to full charge. Hooves thundered, lances leveled, the earth itself seemed to tremble. In the center they met, the crack of splintering would echo like a thunderclap. Lancelot's lance struck true, shattering Meleagrance's shield, hurling him from the saddle. He crashed to the ground, armor clanging, dust rising round him. The crowd roared, yet Lancelot did not pause. He dismounted, casting aside his broken lance, drawing his sword with a hiss of steel. Rise, traitor, he thundered. The queen's honor shall be cleansed with your blood. Meleagrance staggered up, sword trembling in his grip. They clashed, sparks flew, blades rang. Meleagrance struck wildly, desperately, but Lancelot's movements were sure, controlled, each blow hammering down like judgment itself. Soon the usurper faltered, his strength failing. He stumbled, fell to one knee, his sword slipping from his grasp. Mercy, he cried, his voice shrill. By the code of chivalry, by the vows of the Round Table, you must spare me. The crowd hushed. Arthur leaned forward, his brow furrowed. For knights of the Round Table, it was true. When an opponent yielded, mercy was law. All eyes turned to Lancelot. But Lancelot remembered the queen's tears, the shame she had endured, the stake that loomed behind her. He remembered the blood on her sheets, the whispers of betrayal, the sneers of enemies. His jaw tightened. You shall fight me still, he declared, and to prove the gulf between them, he cast away his helm, and clasped the armor on his left side, and bound his left arm behind his back. I will meet you with but one hand. Rise, and face your end. The crowd gasped at such audacity. Arthur himself called out, Lancelot, are you certain? I am certain. My king, I never go back upon my word. Meleagrance, thinking fortune had turned, scrambled up and charged. His sword swung down, yet Lancelot swayed aside, swift as the wind, and with a single stroke of his right arm, he cleaved through helm and skull. Meleagrance collapsed lifeless at his feet. The square erupted. With cries, some cheered, some wailed. But all knew the queen was saved. Guinevere was freed from the stake, her chains undone, her name declared pure. Arthur embraced her before all, though sorrow still lingered in his eyes, and the people shouted the name of Lancelot, savior of Britain.
Yet victory carried its shadow. The blood that stained Guinevere's sheets had not been washed away by combat. Whispers lingered in dark corners. Lancelot and Guinevere could not abandon their love, nor could they hide it forever. In stolen nights and secret glances, their passion grew, even as suspicion spread. Enemies of Arthur, jealous knights, envious lords all waited for the chance to expose them. And at last, the truth broke free, as truths always do. The Round Table, once united, split apart. Some knights declared loyalty to Arthur, others to Lancelot. Brothers in arms turned upon one another. Camelot, once the shining dream of honor, cracked under the weight of betrayal. Arthur, noble but sorrowful, marched against his former friend. Guinevere, condemned again, was to be burned. But Lancelot stormed the pyre, cutting her free, slaying those who held the torch. For love he defied king and kingdom alike. War followed, cities burned, friends died by each other's hands. At last came the fatal day at Camelot, where Arthur met his end by Mordred's treachery. Struck down, the once great king was carried to the Isle of Avalon, never to return. Guinevere, broken by grief and guilt, cast aside her crown. She entered a convent, donning the veil, seeking forgiveness for the fire that had destroyed a realm. And Lancelot the Jack of Clubs, the brightest knight, cast away his sword. He took holy orders, living the rest of his life in sorrow, fasting and prayer. He died not in battle, but in repentance, haunted by the queen he had loved and the king he had betrayed. So now, look again upon the Jack of Clubs. See his eyes, not fixed forward like a king, but glancing aside, as though unable to face the truth. He is youthful, proud, yet uncertain, caught between light and darkness. That is Lancelot, the greatest knight, yet also the betrayer, the lover whose passion tore Camelot apart. Every time you draw that card, remember, you hold not just ink on paper, but the weight of a kingdom's rise and fall. You hold the story of a man torn between loyalty and love, between glory and guilt. So I ask you, was Lancelot a traitor who doomed his king, or a tragic soul chained by fate and the fire of forbidden love? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because behind every card lies another legend waiting to be told.